make sure that we're
I
all
just started.
progressing. That's fine. I'm
That's
done.
good. I'm sure so for me, a big thing that I'm always saying in customer marketing is like that change management need, but I can't wait to see what else you put out because it's going to be great. Like that course you just did was really good. There was no fluff, no garbage, no
Yeah.
somebody making 7 hours of videos that I didn't want to have to go through. I was like, oh, this is awesome. I put it on 1.5 speed because I usually listen to things at 2 speed and I wanted to hear it better. And what was it, like 35 minutes? I was done. I was like, that is awesome.
Oh man. Wow. Do you guys do that? 1.5, 2 speed? This is like brand new to me. I gotta do that. That's awesome. Thank you for
My
the
son
tip.
taught me. My son taught me. He's like, just increase it a little bit each time you listen to a video, and soon you'll be at 2 speed and saving tons of time. So,
Oh my God.
yeah.
Wow. Thank you.
I can't do it. It just drives me crazy. So I have to have,
Reading
I'm
is faster.
slow.
I wish I could put like internal meetings on that.
Well, if you
Speed.
record them, but if you participate and it's live, then you just got to be like, hey, hurry up. I ain't got this time. Okay,
Hey,
so
Leslie, can
today,
you drop the link to your course in the chat?
Oh, yeah. Sure. Let's do that.
we have Alison Bukowski today, who, hint, hint, still is not in our Slack channel, Alison, but she's going to share about certifications. And Alexi invited her, and don't feel any pressure, Alison. It's just that I tag you or write your name several times lately because you've been sharing more and doing your podcast and stuff like that. But you can jump in and start whenever you want, either of you.
Uh, I well, maybe Lexi can kick it
Sure.
off. I will come on camera for a little bit, but
You don't have
sorry,
to.
nasal no, I will. It's okay for a little bit, but I'm sorry, you guys. You have to hear the nasal. I caught whatever my petri dish of children brought home.
Oh, no.
Reaches dish of children.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna mute.
I think the conversation that I was just interested in having was about the various certifications. I've seen them popping up more and more, and people talking about them or adding them into their LinkedIn profiles. But every time they kind of get posted, particularly in Slack, it doesn't seem like there's anyone who's done them. And then I hear that you've done most of them.
Well, I don't know about most of them. I've done 2. So I don't know how many are out there. That would actually probably be a very useful resource, which maybe it exists. I mean, maybe Leslie's already captured. Leslie, do you have that? Do you have a newsletter on that? All the certifications that are available for professionals. Someone should. I should take a look and see what there is out there. But anyway, yes. So certifications, and there seems to be a lot of buzz around it lately. And I'm not in the Slack because it's weird. I don't Slack. My orgs have always had strict security regulations about outside Slack stuff. So I've just
That's a
never
really good point. I'm gonna shut
place
up.
where I can't get in. I'm like, firewalled out. But so certifications, they seem to be popping up a lot lately. There are some that have been around, longer than others. I specifically can speak to the ICAP, the Institute for Certified Advocacy Enhancement Professionals. I have it pulled up, the Institute of Certified Customer Advocacy Professionals. I want to make sure I get that right. So that is one that has been around, I believe, the longest. I can't think of one that has been around longer. And that was put together. Some of you may know Helen Fieber from Referential. It's not owned by Referential, but Helen and a few others in the industry, broke out and really strive to, put something together that could be a third-party objective look at customer advocacy as a profession. And I don't want to, of course, put words in in Helen's Mouth or those that worked on that particular project. I know Robin from In Evidence, I believe, was involved, David Sroka from Point of Reference, and some others that have far more years under their belt than I do. But that, and it's also the most rigorous that I have found thus far. I had been wanting to do it for a long time in my career, and I simply was honestly afraid of the time commitment, because it is definitely rigorous coursework. Has anyone else done it? Like, that's on the call? Because then you can certainly weigh
The
in.
This is the
ICAP?
problem I was running into.
ICAP.
Okay.
Okay, so well then I guess it'll be, yeah, and CMA, that's the other one. I haven't done CMA, that's the newer one. But so I was saying what ICAP strives to do is really create a common language and landscape. This is again just my perspective. And the coursework, it is online, so that's nice. So you can work at your own pace, right? And you can finish it and do it as, you know, when you would like. But I think if anyone else is like me, I encourage, if you're going to do it, like do it, like just really commit to doing it. Because otherwise you do it and then 6 months later you remember you had the thing that you started, and then 2 years later you have forgotten everything and you might as well just restart it. And it goes through modules, right? So it spends a lot of time focusing on, you know, what do we call advocacy? That's one right now, right? What's customer marketing? What's customer advocacy? You know, what are the differences between that? So that's sort of those common definitions. What's an advocate? What are advocate personas? It really gets deeply into the weeds on those topics. It also spends time talking about how do we, you know, structure an advocacy program, right? What are the elements of a particular program management, metrics, outcomes? What are all of those things? What do they mean? What is their role? What is their value to a particular program? And also there's math. Yes, there's math. It also goes into how do we calculate and come up with how many advocates do I need if I have, you know, a goal of this output? How do I find out how many advocates, you know, what my percentage is that I need to figure out to achieve goal X, Y, Z. So there's really very tactical stuff that is in that coursework. Obviously, you go at your own pace. The questions that have popped up for me since it's been in the last few months where it's gotten a lot of traction. How long does it take? So let's just address the elephant in the room, right? Depends how fast you want to go through it, but I would say it's not going to be any less than 20 hours of a commitment, maybe more. I do really like the way that the modules are set up, because it does walk through in a very logical format. There's a self-assessment at the end of every single module. I will say pay attention to those assessments and, you know, work through them until you're, you know, you're getting the answers correct on those quizzes, because it will serve you well down the line when you go, if you choose to take the certification exam. So very strong content. I personally love the fact that I wish we all could kind of have that foundation as advocacy professionals of what do these things mean? How do we look at, you know, driving and calculating? Thank you, Lexi, for putting that. No math. There's math. There's not so much math, but there is far more math than this English major ever thought I would have to deal with
Can I
within
ask a
course.
question
Yeah.
quick?
Yeah, of course.
Based on your experience in customer marketing and working with advocates, did you find that there, like even those math issues of how many advocates can I get or how many advocates do I need for XYZ, did those seem realistic? Like, did it seem within the range of what you found as a practitioner?
Yes. Yeah. I think that the math was reasonable, as far as, you know, and it's not, and I shouldn't say like, because it's not calculating your own goals. It's just kind of like, how are you figuring out I'm stumbling over it because of the brain fog with not this head cold, but more so just how many advocates am I going to need if somebody told me I needed this, output, right?
Yeah.
Or what percentage, if I have an acceptance rate of X, right? From like, if I want to have 30 advocates, how many do I need to reach out to based on, so yes,
Yeah.
and they were useful
Yeah.
formulas and
Did,
equations.
did you feel like you learned a lot as well from the course? I mean, I think of you as almost, like an expert in this area. So was it helpful in
You're
that way,
kind.
or do you feel like you just wanted to get that credential?
My motivation was multifaceted, I guess. It was a little strange. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, and I will say, even though I've been doing it a long time, yes, I still learned a lot. It brought me back to some like roots, right? And some basics. And I kept thinking, yes, like I do wish that more people would, kind of use it, if for no other reason than this industry has really exploded. And there's no one right way of doing it, but I think a common language is nice. It's nice to have. And I will say that even though I've been doing this for a long time, I still had to study. I mean, this was not a cakewalk. I will definitely, I'll raise my hand and say, nope. There's a practice test that you can take before you take the certification exam, and you can take it up to 5 times. I took it all 5 times, and I did not get 100% on any of the 5 times that I took the practice test. So it's definitely something that, but I think that speaks to the quality of the content, when you have an exam like that really makes you apply the knowledge. I will say that I think the course, some refreshing would be nice, just from hey, let's maybe make it a little more modern. It definitely could benefit from that. But there's only so much you can do within a, online course curriculum. But I think if the last few years have taught us anything, we've learned that there are some things we can do to make things a little more engaging and creative. So that's definitely, feedback that I provided after I did the coursework. And that particular, what else have I been asked? Oh, how much does it cost? I want to say it's around $1,500 for the course, and then it's about $500 for the exam. And you and other people that, well, what if you don't pass the exam? It behooves you to study. If you do not pass the exam, you don't get a free retake. It's not as expensive to retake, but you want to really try to make sure that you do your best. So I was really pleased, back to your question, Mary, that I did it, because I felt that, I don't know, just felt like it was something that I needed to do, even as a practitioner who's been doing this for a very long time. And I did. Some of it, did I know a lot? Yeah, I did. But it was good to refresh, and I did learn some new things, and I came away feeling more confident and feeling like I could speak even more intelligently to this particular, profession when I was done. So that's the ICAP. I don't know if there's
That's awesome.
questions.
Thank you for sharing on that.
Yeah. And I can speak to Captivate as well, if you guys want to hear a little bit about that one.
So I'm just curious, they do have a certification, right?
So I believe, and Liz and Dina obviously are not on this call, but they, for the first time, did that in Boston. So it was
Okay.
adjacent to Customer XCon this year. So they do a lot of like if you go on their website, there's all kinds of, educational information, and they do a lot of different modules and things like that for advocacy professionals. And, that's wonderful content to consume. To my knowledge, this was the first time that they did a certification because they were able to do an in-person workshop. So it was a one-day event. They are going to try to offer that virtually as a same kind of thing, right? Same structure, a one-day virtual event, and then also to offer it, I think, once a year in person, and trying to, piggyback off of something where a lot of us might perhaps be, right, be coming so that you're not traveling specifically for, you can two birds, one stone kind of thing. And that was built upon, if you go to their website and you take a look at some of the information that they have about their maturity model for customer advocacy, and we focused specifically on business impact. That's what this particular workshop and certification was focused on. And so it was, it was a full day event. There was some engagement. There were about 22 participants that took advantage of that particular workshop and walked through that maturity model. Then there was a online exam that was offered after the event. So the exam wasn't taken as part of the event. You were given the link to the exam after you completed the workshop. And then I believe you had like 90 days, but most of us that were there, we did that, right? You want to do it when the information is fresh in your mind. I will say that, like comparatively, so the big things, right, that you look at are things like time commitment, cost, what's the content like. Obviously, a one-day workshop, less of a time commitment. Benefit, being in person, although if they offer it virtually, then you'd also have that, online offering. And it was very specifically focused on, business impact, like one particular area, rather than being much more, broad and looking at customer advocacy as a whole. I think Captivate did a really nice job, as they tend to do, with very practical, real world application learning, if that makes sense. There's book learning, and then it's learning, but it is very much focused on like action oriented. Here I am, how am I working through this? Where am I at on my advocacy journey? They kind of do, they go through, Captivate uses within their maturity model. Am I at, a basic level? Am I at a strategic level? Am I at an exceptional level? Like, where am I at? And you can identify for yourself where you're at. And it lays out a really clean path, which that's what I mean by that real world application. So you can see yourself, right? This is where I am, then this is where I want to go. And how do I, go about that? Cost wise, it's a few $100s for the workshop, and then the exam was included within that. So, a bit less from a cost perspective. So I think very, very different. In a perfect world, together, I think they're awesome, because they kind of hit both that, like, left brain, right brain, book smart, application of those sorts of things. But I realize that, sometimes you have to pick and choose. So that's kind of an overview of that particular one. Anyone has any questions?
I'd love to know, like, if you were mentoring somebody, like, would you recommend that they do them? I think like that's just an interesting perspective to come to this conversation from, because I know individually each person has a different approach to sort of like building their career and their kind of like CMA toolkit. But in terms of like whether or not you really see the value in your day to day, like, are you reaching for the tools that you learned there? If it was somebody who had, half of your experience in the workforce, maybe even less than that, would you recommend it?
I absolutely would recommend them. I feel that both are geared probably to those that are earlier in their career. Like I said, I would love to see, those that are new to the career with the ICAP, to kind of, because in a perfect world, what you would do is because there's different levels, right? I'm like a 1, like there's 2, there's 3, and honestly, like I'm a little terrified of trying to take on some of those accelerated levels, but it would kind of progress with you, right? Throughout your career. So I think from a foundations perspective, it's really great. Like I'm coming in and I'm, want to, not like, hey, I'm interning, that kind of thing, or I'm feeling it out, but I'm committed. Like advocacy is where I want to see customer marketing, customer advocacy. This is where I want to see my career going. Definitely, because it does set the stage for and builds a really nice foundation. Then I think that the Captivate one is like, okay, I've been doing this for a little bit, because I think you want a little time under your belt before you jump into that, because it is so practical, the information that you're getting out of that. And you can really kind of like, oh yeah, that's me. That's where I'm at. This is where I want to be. And so I would recommend that for somebody who perhaps is, maybe a year or 2 in to the journey, and definitely has their feet wet and they've been doing something, or maybe they're excited because they want to start building like their own program and what are some of the best practices and things that they can do. Then I would add that one on, and do it kind of in that order. Hopefully that helps answer the question. What are better for advocacy versus customer marketing? Both are definitely advocacy focused. I answer that with confidence that they're customer advocacy focused. Yep. Which is actually, I'm kind of like, I'm glad I can answer that with confidence, that there's not the gray. Well, customer marketing and customer advocacy, and no, they are definitely customer advocacy focused. To take one of the courses. Are you asking if for somebody on my team, or like personally, would I pay?
Yeah, I'm more just kind of thinking like, as the landscape changes and people add headcount or take headcount away, do you see it as like a training tool, kind of what Alexi was getting at? Like for folks coming into this space, is there benefit for like folks who are, if you have headcount underneath you as like a manager director, to like level up or like add value to you as an upper management? I guess just kind of like from a program or like hierarchy level, is there a value, and is it worth the money, I guess, from your budget?
Yes, although to Jeannie, to your point, right? You have to balance that with what else is out there. We've seen an explosion of conferences as well, especially in like this year was crazy, right? I don't know what, the 4 or 5, something like that. So it would depend on where they are at in their career and what my goals are for them. I would say that if there was like an event and Captivate was doing something and it was in conjunction and I was going to pay to have someone go to a conference and I saw that workshop was, absolutely, I would do it. And I would do it as an add-on, because that is worth the investment. If I'm already paying to get somebody somewhere, then yes, I would definitely do that. As far as with ICAP, I would absolutely invest in that if I had somebody that was coming in and they were newer and I really wanted them to get the foundation and the book learning, because we all know, like, okay, I have a marketing degree or I have a business degree or something like that. You do not get into the specifics, right, of customer advocacy. You don't come out with a degree in customer advocacy, or there's not even specific coursework. I mean, maybe there is now, but there certainly wasn't when I went through. And that provides a really nice, I would want someone on my team that I think I see a lot of promise that they would, start to grow with that career, I think having that foundation would be really valuable. But
Allison, I'll add that,
yeah,
this community is so different than so many other communities. There is so much sharing of knowledge that, someone on your team could, do a couple of webinars a week and learn so much from this group, or,
Yep.
Leslie's work, and there's so many people sharing for free.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, it's not like I don't like certifications or anything. I took one and maybe it wasn't that good. And that this was 4 years ago. I think it was like through influitive or something. I don't know. But yes, to your point, like there is a lot of free resources out there. And then also like I work for startup companies, and I'll just lay it out there. Like Sendoso had layoffs in June, and like I didn't get laid off, but I like taking, for example, somebody that did, and if they had a certification, wouldn't matter. It's probably more about showing the impact of your work. I'm not trying to say my course or anything like that, but I'm just trying to say that like I think it may be more about kind of just like learning the practices and the programs and learning how to measure those and put those in front of management in times like that.